Nicholas and I'm a fourth year BA Geography student. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about my role as a storm overflow research intern at Welsh Water. So, why a placement? When deciding upon my next steps following sixth form, I was unsure if university was for me. I was torn between whether to pursue further education or whether to enter the world of work. So when I finally came to the conclusion of university, applying for the placement programme was a no-brainer. From the get-go, I was adamant of the value of experience in the corporate world, and the placement enabled me to achieve both these desires. So, why this adamancy, you may ask? I chose to study geography due to its malleability. When I applied to university, there were a lot of unknowns. In fact, my reasoning for choosing to study geography was to keep my options open. I had no career goal in mind, and I didn't even know if university was for me at this stage. But what I was certain of was the value of a degree, and specifically a geography degree, due to its relevance and applicability. It would allow me to gain relevant skills whilst keeping my options open. So when it came to selecting a placement, I was open to giving anything a go. It would allow me to get a taste of an industry without the commitment of a proper job. And at the very least, it would help me decide what industry I didn't want to work in. Thankfully though, my experience was incredibly positive, exposing me to an industry that I wouldn't have considered otherwise. My placement search. The only requirement that I had was to experience the corporate world, a large company and the professionalism that comes with this. I'm from the Rhondda Valleys, so my search was restricted to the Cardiff region. The geographical limitations to my placement was something that I hadn't really considered when I applied to the placement programme. And it meant that with regards to the placement search, I had to be open-minded. As you can see in the slide, I applied to a variety of large corporations. I progressed through various stages of their application processes, from the initial CV, often followed by the personality test, where you slide on a scale how strongly you agree or disagree with the statement. And then I even got to the interview stage, but unfortunately I was unsuccessful in gaining an offer. I also sent speculative applications to companies that I was interested in, including the local council regarding regeneration projects and various property firms and estate agents with an interest in surveying. The council did offer me a position, but it was for a shorter duration than what the university's placement requirements were, so I decided to decline, and this was a very tricky decision as this was the only offer that I had at this stage. So, Welsh Water, and how I came to work with them. My placement search had been pretty challenging and relentless, and there were not many opportunities available to me in my area, and of those I'd been unsuccessful. Through word of mouth, I heard about a potential upcoming role with the company, so I applied. Quite simply, I had to apply despite not really knowing what the role entailed, but there were two things that I was certain of. The placement was with a good company, and the work would be topical and of relevance to my geography degree, as well as to society more broadly. I think it's important to add here that this opportunity with Welsh Water came about at the end of July 2023, and I started in August. So remember, the roles do appear all year round. So, Welsh Water. I thought I'd provide a little bit of context about the company. Welsh Water is the 6th largest water company in the UK, and it serves over 3 million customers. It's the 4th largest employer in Wales, which was something that I was unaware of, and it has over 3,000 direct employees. Welsh Water is unique in the water industry, and that it operates a not-for-profit business model. This means that they have no shareholders and all profits are invested. So, my role. My role as a storm overflow research intern required me to learn about all aspects linked to storm overflow performance, including the breadth of related factors of influence, from land cover change, extreme weather, and even blockages. And as such, I was fortunate to enter many business areas within the company, an opportunity that was unique to my role. Some of the areas included asset maintenance, hydrological modelling, and even to stakeholder relations, so my role was very, 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 very varied. The key element to my role was to understand cause and impact. So, what influences storm overflow operation, and how does this impact the environment? As you may or may not be aware, water companies have dominated headlines over recent times and are an area attracting much public attention, understandably. Hence, the overarching mindset behind the creation of my role is linked to the company's organisational objective, being for their customers, with their investments reflecting public interest. My role consisted of three main elements. Firstly, this involved an assessment of storm overflows and their operation. This was a desktop-based activity which required me to analyse company data relating to performance. I undertook a literature review to understand the industry's knowledge of this cause and effect relation, identify gaps in knowledge, and ultimately how we can look to better our management of storm overflow operations. An additional caveat to my literature review was to research how we apportion the extent of impact, and importantly how storm overflow discharges have different effects between impact to environment, animals and humans. Finally, my role also involved working alongside the liaison and engagement team. My job here was to address queries, often derived from misunderstandings reflected in media reporting. This element of the role was fascinating. You could really see the role of the media in science communication and how stories can become distorted through this. So this was really, really fascinating to me. Learnings. So, my time at Welsh Water has been so beneficial to me both personally and professionally. Feelings of imposter syndrome were very much present throughout my placement year. Being amongst industry specialists and amongst their jargon, I frequently felt out of my depth and out of my comfort zone, and often questioned my suitability to the role, asking how on earth am I amongst these industry experts? I don't know anything. But remember, you're there to learn. They know you're not supposed to know much, and that's the point of you being there to learn. The independent nature of the role means that your contribution is visible, and you are accountable for your role. At first, I was a little overwhelmed by this responsibility, but the rewards of having your hard work seen and valued are unlike anything that I've experienced before. In terms of personal working style, I was incredibly fortunate in that the variety of my role gave me a great insight into the different types of working styles available, and ultimately highlighted what I preferred. My role included desk-based work, site visits, and community engagement events. Having the chance to experience such different job roles was amazing, and it highlighted what type of work I would like to look for in the future. Whilst I enjoyed every element that I experienced, it was the variety that I loved, and this is something that I will bear in mind with my future career search. Having goals. At the beginning, I really struggled with what a good day's work looked like. Deliverables take months to complete, unlike university assessments. And as someone who is quite conscientious in personality, this is something that I've always struggled with, knowing when I've done enough work and when to stop. But what it has taught me is that regular contact with my manager is something that will be important for me, but it's also something that over my duration with the company I got better at dealing with, and understanding that this is the nature of the role, and simply if you're not up to scratch with your work, they will let you know. Not that that was the case with me, but not to worry so much. Time management. The independent working style and having the freedom to structure your week, or weeks even, was a new adjustment. For me, having set working hours quickly made me aware of how inefficient I was with my time, particularly the amount of time I spent doing work. With my contracted working hours being 8 till 4, it taught me to stop. Very often with university or school work, there was no break and work would blur into outside life. And whilst I enjoyed this and I didn't mind this, it was nice to be almost forced to put away my laptop at the weekend. And I hope that dedicating time for work and leisure, developed from my year working, will continue into my 4th year and will enable me to continue this better work-life balance. So, reflecting on my placement, I'm going to run through these rather quickly as I'm quite conscious of time, but the placement search. Don't give up. New roles appear year-wide. My role was only created and advertised in July 2023 and I started in the August 2023, so don't worry if there's nothing too early. University. Your placement may open up new topics which interest you, and you'll have the opportunity then to explore these in your fourth year. For me, I've applied my placement learnings to my dissertation, looking at the perception of utility companies, and I've also tailored my modules to this newfound interest, specifically the science communication module. And in terms of career, my placement has definitely altered my career pathway. It gave me the opportunity to experience an industry that I wouldn't have considered before. Who knew wastewater would be so interesting? And within this, it specifically piqued my interest in stakeholder engagements, in terms of the content of the job, engaging with the community and looking to educate, as well as the variety that job entails, including office, site visits and community engagement events. So I would definitely recommend the placement. As I've written on my slide, all experience is good to experience, and I truly believe this. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me.